Welcome to Credit Strategy HQ, where we explain the credit strategy framework and explore how lenders interpret credit reports so viewers can understand the structure of their financial profile before taking action. And one of the most commonly misunderstood entries that appears on credit reports is the charge-off account, which many consumers interpret as meaning that a debt has been forgiven or eliminated, when in reality, a charge-off represents an accounting classification used by creditors to indicate that an account has become seriously delinquent and is unlikely to be collected through normal billing efforts. And typically, this classification occurs after several months of missed payments, when the creditor moves the account into a category that reflects the lender's expectation that the debt may not be repaid according to the original terms. But within the credit report, the charge-off does not necessarily eliminate the obligation itself, because the balance may still be owed even though the account has been removed from the creditor's active receivables. And in many cases, the debt may later be transferred or sold to a collection agency, which then creates an additional trade line representing the collection activity. And this process often leads to confusion because the credit report may show both the charged-off original account and a separate collection entry associated with the same debt. But within the credit strategy framework, the focus remains on understanding how these entries contribute to the overall structure of the credit profile rather than simply reacting to the terminology used by creditors, because lenders reviewing credit reports typically evaluate the timeline and patterns of account behavior rather than focusing on a single label such as charge-off. And when lenders examine a charge-off account, they often look at factors such as how long ago the account became delinquent, whether other accounts in the profile remain stable during that period, and whether the borrower has demonstrated consistent repayment behavior since that event occurred. And these contextual details help lenders determine whether the charge-off represents a past financial difficulty that has since been resolved or whether it reflects ongoing instability within the borrower's financial behavior. And another important aspect of charge-offs involves how they interact with other elements of the credit report, because the presence of a charge-off alongside multiple recent delinquencies or collections may suggest a broader pattern of unresolved obligations, whereas a single older charge-off within a profile that otherwise shows strong payment history may be interpreted differently. And this is why the credit strategy framework emphasizes analyzing the entire profile structure before deciding what actions might be appropriate, since credit reports function as a chronological record of financial behavior that lenders interpret in order to estimate future reliability, and the charge-off entry becomes part of that timeline, documenting a period when the original creditor concluded that the account had become severely delinquent. And while the terminology itself may appear alarming to many consumers, understanding how lenders interpret these entries can provide valuable perspective, because lenders often weigh multiple factors simultaneously when assessing a borrower's overall financial stability, including account age, utilization patterns, the number of active accounts, and the consistency of repayment behavior across the profile. And this broader evaluation highlights why the credit strategy framework focuses on interpretation before action, encouraging viewers to understand the structural role of each account within the report, rather than assuming that any single entry completely defines the strength or weakness of the profile. Because credit reports contain many interconnected elements that collectively shape the lender's perception of risk. And by learning how those elements interact, individuals can gain greater clarity about how their financial history appears within the reporting system, which ultimately allows them to approach future decisions with a more informed and strategic perspective. And that analytical mindset is the central objective of the credit strategy framework, which helps viewers interpret the structure of their credit profile so they can understand how lenders evaluate financial behavior over time and make decisions that align with a clearer understanding of how their credit history is being read.